Good evening, everyone. In this world of immense innovation, where technology keeps us pushing towards the horizon of changes, we, the interns of IEEE Kerala Section, brings you the ultimate platform to channel your thoughts, color your space, talk without limits. I am Alina Narobin from the interns team, and I'll be the MC for this session. For the pilot session, I wholeheartedly welcome a member of our intern team, Google CM, CEO of GATS LLP, to talk about Unity game development. If any one of you have doubts, please feel free to put up in the chat box in the YouTube. We shall answer to you in the live session. Over to you, Gokul.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So I hope my screen share is visible.
Yes, Gokul.
Okay, so a warm good evening to everyone watching this stream. So myself, Gokul here. So today I am here to give you an introduction to game development, mainly using Unity. So basically what I'm going to cover is why Unity, why should be using Unity for game development as a beginner. Then some games which were developed in Unity. Then we will be directly going through the Unity's game engine, how it looks, how its working is happening. Then I would just give you a walkthrough of a game which I have done in that one. So you could have an idea about it. Then after that, I would be explaining some scripts involved in that game. And after that, we could have an Q&A session. So this is how the event is planned right now. So without further ado, let's move on. So first of all, just an introduction about me. Myself, Gokul CM. I am CEO of GATS LLP and student startup, which I have started along with my friends. So I would like to thank them at this point of time because these resources are our organizations, and I have the permission to use it wherever I want. So first, I would like to give them the credits. Then I'm an active volunteer in IEEE. I am the industry relations lead in IEEE India Council. I am also a proud ECC intern of IEEE Kerala Section, who have given me this opportunity to do the first session of this Color Your Space program, which I am really privileged to be part of. I'm also the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Coordinator at IEEE CS Kerala Section, and I'm also the Vice Chairman of my IEEE SB. So you could connect me in this website link given below. So let's move on. So Unity, this is the logo of Unity. I hope most of you have seen this in a lot of mobile games and computer PC games, then in maybe in TV also. So it comes to a question, what and why Unity? That's the important question here. Why I chose Unity? So actually Unity is a cross-platform game engine. So that's the important point. So you may come, what is game engine? What is this one? So actually we have game engine makes the process of game development easy. Actually game development is not an piece of cake. Game development is a field of development which includes physics, maths, designing, editing, coding, lots of aspects. It covers lots and lots of aspects, and it's really hard. It's not as easy as it seems or how easy it works. It involves a lot of aspects, and if we are doing it manually like we do it in other programs, it is going to be really tough. It is not possible with a simple IDE. We could do the whole development process or using a text editor. So there, that's where the game engine comes. It integrates all the components, as I said, physics, maths, design, graphics, animation, all these things, all these components or all these modules are integrated in this game engine, and we use it to develop games. This makes the process very easy. And actually Unity was developed by Unity Technologies, and it was released exclusively for Apple in 2005. It was only exclusively for Apple. It was exclusively released for developing games in macOS at 2005, the Worldwide Developer Conference, which is really famous among developers. But presently at 2018, Unity supports almost 25 different platforms. So you could see the growth Unity has had. It was just started as exclusively for Mac OS, and now it's almost supporting 25 platforms: Android, iOS, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, our TV OS, and lots and lots of things are there. I don't want to go deep into it. So that's how Unity has grown. And the second point is Unity helps us to develop any type of game. Let it be virtual reality, or augmented reality, 3D, 2D, simulations, 8D simulations even can be done using Unity. So Unity provides us a plethora of options to develop games. And outside, other than the gaming industry, lots of other industries also use Unity because of its because of that powerful engine, or how easy it is to create simulations and things. It is used in the film industry for making animations, small animations, used in the automotive industry to do the simulations or to work over a model. In the architecture, engineering, construction industries too, there involves a lot of graphics and things like that. And you could easily simulate that in Unity. And C# is the primary language, or the primary programming language used for the engine. So we do all the coding part using C#, and C# is an object-oriented language which is also owned by Windows. So actually, it's also not really hard. It's pretty much similar to Java. So the latest version is 2020.3.8 F1. Actually, stable has now been 2020.3.12 F1, but that doesn't make a pretty much difference. 2020 and 2019 is actually having a difference. So this is about Unity, and why we chose Unity. That's the biggest question. Actually, game engines are really costly. Unity is something which is free. Free in the sense, if your app is having if not having income of $1 lakh per year, you could use Unity as much as you want. It's free. You could deploy as many number of apps. Your company should not be making income more than $1 lakh. If it's making, you have to even share it to Unity. Other than that, Unity is totally free. So that's the main reason all the developers prefer Unity. There are other game engines like Unreal Engine, which is most of you might have heard. It is used in PUBG, one of the most popular game engines. Other than that, there is Rage, which is used to build games like our GTA series was built in Rage. So these are all proprietary game engines. You have to pay for it. And there is a lot of process. They are also really powerful. Rage is one of the most powerful game engines, but we have to pay. But Unity doesn't have that payment part. That's why most of the developers prefer, and that's why I chose this topic for the session. So now let me show you games which were developed in Unity. First of all, Angry Birds. You all know, most of us, I think all of us would have played this game. And when we open this game, Unity will be shown at first, the logo of the Unity. That's the way they're giving credits. So Angry Birds was developed in Unity. So you could imagine how the game was a really wonderful one once it was released. And Temple Run. So these Angry Bird, Temple Run, all these games made a revolution in mobile gaming. And all these games were built in Unity. So you could imagine how powerful Unity engine is. Then next comes the Assassin's Creed Identity, which was purely built in Unity, which was a PC game. So we could understand how portable and how versatile Unity engine can be. And next game is Kerbal Space Program. Most of you might not have heard about it. The reason why I chose this game to show you is that this game involves creating rockets and sending it to planets and things like that. The physics is Unity is so precise that NASA has endorsed this game. At some part of the NASA has used to do simulations using this game, because the physics which is applied, the rocket science or the things like that applied are so precise, which even NASA endorses. So that's how the Unity, that's itself shows the power of how Unity engine can work, or how it can create magic in the whole industry of game development. So this is some introduction I want to give on Unity. So now let's move on to the part where we see some code. I don't want to just blabber out theory and bore you guys. So this is how Unity looks like. Installation and all is completely, what to say, it's really easy. You could just go to YouTube or Google and just search how to install Unity. Then you would get it and just install it. There is some licensing part. Do that licensing part. It's really easy. Without license, you can't do anything. Pretty much, it's the software is waste. So just take a license, then create a 3D project. Now I'm going to explain a 3D game. So this is the 3D game development environment of Unity. So this is a game I built in my first year or something. So I chose this game because it would be easy for you to understand, because this is where I started to. So that's why I chose this game. So this is a pretty much simple game. What it does, it's just like don't hit the blocks. If you hit the block, game over. Then you have a slope like that. You have a slope there. this is some kind of, assume it's a river. So this yellow color ball is the player. So you have to cross it with some elevation point. You don't have to fall, and if you fall, that game over. Then you have to land it properly in that space, in that area there, and you shouldn't go out. If you go out, then also game over. So this is a simple, pretty much simple game you could build within a really short span of time, and this would help you to understand more about a 3D game too. That's why I chose this topic. So let's understand what this environment looks like. People who know Photoshop may or any other design softwares may understand this interface more easier. Others, don't worry, we only use some options in this. So first one, this is hierarchy. So this is where all our game objects or the objects we see here are shown in a hierarchical manner. As the name suggests, hierarchy, it follows a parent-child relationship. Here you could see everything inside sample scene is what we see here. So there is all the items we see here as a child relationship to the sample scene. So if I delete sample scene, all these things get deleted. So it's following a parent-child relationship. So that's about hierarchy. Then the second one is project tab. So this project tab is mainly like in VS Code, we have a tab which shows our files and folders and things like that. So it's the similar tab to that one. So these have the assets folder, packages folders. We could add packages, portable packages and things. So this menu shows all those packages and assets we are using. So these are the code files. So these are also referred as assets. So these are the assets I'm using for it, and you could view it in the project tab. You could add new assets, you could add new scripts, you could add new 3D objects. You could just go to Google and search 3D objects, free 3D objects Unity. Then you could just drag and drop inside this, and it will work. So you could add assets via this one too. So the next one is console. You could see. So this console shows when the game is running, if there are any sorts of errors in the code or something happened in the animation. All those things are shown in this console. All the errors are shown here. And next one is the inspector tab. So this tab is for, if I click on game object, I would get the details of the object, like its position, rotation, scale, box collector, blah, blah, blah. And I could add components. Actually, each of this is actually a component. These are called game objects, actually. The thing here I see here, this cube is a game object. This slope is a game object. Then this water is a game object. Everything I see here is classified as a game object. So if I click a game object from the hierarchy tab, I could see its properties. We could say in this inspector tab, it has a name, it has a tag and things like that. I could also add these assets to that one, and I could add new components. So these components give its properties. So in the components, you could say physics is there, rendering is there, scripts is there, UI, video, then audio, effects, event, lots of things are there. It's actually Unity is a really, really big one. I'm just showing you whatever we would be requiring if we are a beginner. So if I want to add a physics property, just click physics, and just I could add any physics property. So it would be adding to this component. So this is how the inspector tab works. So these are mainly the areas where we would be working more. And the next area is the scene. So scene is where all the work related to the game is done. Adding the game objects, giving its properties, setting where this game object should be. I could move it. I will show you the tools which is used to move and all. You could move it. You could delete it. You could do anything as much as possible with that graphical interface. So that's what the scene is. So mostly we are going to work on the scene tab for 90% of the time. Then in the game tab is how we could see how the game interface is going to be. So this is how, when I export this as a game, it would be like, you could say what, when I open Temple Run, the camera runs behind the player, right? So this is how it's going to be. When I start the game, my player will be here, and my phone or my lap will be having just such a window like this. So this is the viewport through which we are going to view the game. So this viewport is constructed by this main camera. So that's where the role of main camera comes. So the main camera is the camera through which we could view the game, or how the game works, or how the user should view the game. So we could have multiple cameras. In racing games and all, you have 3 to 4 camera options. That's made by adding more cameras. So you could add as much as cameras you want, and you could switch between them via code, things like that. So that's about the camera and the game tab and the viewport part. So I could change this camera viewport and things. But for the time being, I have just added this camera to the players behind their code. I will show you that code now. I mean, the later part of the session. So next, let's come to the tools part. So these are the main tools we are going to use. So the first tool is the hand tool. So hand tool is actually used to move our sample scene, to move the space. Zoom in and zoom out are just that mouse scroll button as used to. Scroll in and scroll out is used to zoom in and zoom out. So this hand tool is mainly used to move around our scene. Move tool is used to move and game object. So if I select the move tool and I want to move, you could see the main camera is shown now. The main camera is behind the player and it moves accordingly. I have written the script for it. I will show you later. So direction light also, that light part also, if I move this light, all these things will become dark. So let's not concentrate on the light part right now. So here I have an obstacle. So with the move tool, I can change the directions of this obstacle. So you could see there are axes, 3 axes. I can just move along the axis and all. So there is, this one is y-axis, this one is z-axis, and this one is x-axis. You could see here, it shows the perspective V. This one is the, now I am viewing, we are the xy plane. So that's the perspective shown here. So it shows the color. So if I move this, this is moving along the y-axis. So see, I could just put it there. So this is how the move tool works. I could just move it down and things. It's my wish. Also, I could just use this move tool similarly by clicking this obstacle. In the inspector menu, the transforms, you have the position. So if I change the position, see, just went up. You can move this one. Maybe I will give a value 40. Yeah, it's actually there. See, it moves. So using this transform also, you could move your game objects. So I will just give a rough value to that one. Yeah, it stays correctly. Then next one is the rotate tool. So it's basically used to rotate the game object. It shows us the rotation axis, rotation planes, sorry, not axis, rotation planes. So you could just rotate it via this XY plane, YZ plane, XZ plane, all that planes. Or you could just rotate it via this inspector tab and just change the rotation coordinates. Also scaling. Scaling is making this object big or small. So this is the scale tool. So when I click it, it shows I can extend it along the x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. It's my wish. So I could scale it or click the game object, come to the inspector, change the scaling values in the x, y, z axis respectively. So these are some basic tools. Recti tool. Next one is recti tool. So this tool also is similar to scale tool, but it acts as a rectangle. You could see there is a rectangle coming in the axis. Actually, we don't use rect tool mostly in 3D. We just use the scale tool because it shows a rectangle in a plane format and we have lots of planes in 3D. We use this rect tool mostly in 2D. So I just said about this. So I could have it as a rectangle like we have in our PowerPoint softwares, and I could scale it along those rectangle endpoints. So next tool is tool which contains move, rotate, and scale. So for a selected object, I could perform all these operations. So this is the next type of tool. Rarely we use this tool. We don't use it that much. So that's some basic introduction to the Unity environment. So now let's look at these assets. What are these things? Blue, maroon, yellow. So actually these things are called material. These objects are called. So how can I add a material? Simple, just go to the assets, just right click, create. You have material, just click it. So new material comes. So materials mostly is used to give colors rather than colors and property to a game object. I will show you in detail. So I would just name it as test or something. So you could see you have the material. You can set how the shading should be for the material. You can set it the rendering mode, whether you want it as an opaque object or as a transparent one. Then albedo means color. So you want what color or what one you want this material to have. So that's the next part. Then metallic, whether it should have a metallic shade, whether how much smoothness should be, and the tilting of that material, things like that. There are a lot of options. You could just Google it and check it out. So mainly why this one is used to give these properties, the properties mentioned in the right side, including the color. Albedo is actually color. So including albedo, metallic smoothness, blah, 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 to an game object. So maybe I could just select some random color here, maybe green. Okay. Now I want my obstacle, this one, to have this color. So just drag it and drop it. Simple as that. We could add these materials to Unity really fast and really easily. So this is the main use of material, to give some properties to our game objects there. When I say I want to change the maroon, I could change it. I could change it to blue. I could change it to yellow. Any way I want. So this is how the material works in Unity. Next one is, if I want to add another 3D object inside this one. So how can I do it? So click the sample scheme, just click game object, and you could add a 3D object: cube, there, sphere, capsule, cylinder, plane, what, text is there, rack, doll, terrain, tree. There are a lot of things, 3D text you could add even. So I would just add another sphere. So you could see, actually it's under this one. Split it out. Yeah, so this is the sphere. Actually, it's really small. That's why you can't see it properly. See, this is the sphere. So you could add game objects like that, and I want to give it a green color. So sorry. So I have given it a green color. So you could change the sphere's property here. You could change it, scaling, transforms, things like that. So if you want to scale it, I'm just selecting the scale tool and scaling it. You could do it as an ellipse. Actually, the X and Y and Z should be the same to have a good, to make it as a sphere. Otherwise, it would become an ellipse or something. So this is where the max and come. If you want it to make it an ellipse, you have to apply the ellipse's coordinates and find the X, Y, Z and put it. So that's how mostly this one works. So I could add new game objects like this. There are a lot of game objects, and you could import new assets too. If you want to insert a dinosaur object, just go to Google, search Unity dinosaur 3D objects, and make sure it's free. So just search it, just download it, just drag it from the file manager to this assets or this project tab, and just put it. And Unity would automatically import and do all the background work. And next part is you have to just drag it and put it into this one, and it works. So this is how the whole thing works. So I have created mainly 3D objects, a lot of 3D objects I have used here. I have used cube, sphere, then and plane to create the environment here. So this one is a cube. This one is a cube whose Z axis I have scaled up. This one is a cube with the same Z axis I have scaled up. Then this water is actually a plane. I have given it what to say, I have scaled it to the size of this whole ground maybe. And this one is a sphere. So I have just given it, I have given the materials. So I hope you have understood these much things. So next one is we have added the objects here. So in Unity, I told there is a lot of aspects in game development, including physics. So actually this one should be a rigid body or body which behaves like in a real world. In a real world, what happens? I'm an object, so gravity acts on me. So similarly, our player should also have gravity acting upon it. If it's put in a free space, it should fall down. So properties like that can be given. Actually, it should be given in game to the game or the game objects to have a real life experience. So here is the sphere. So if I want to add physics or rigid body property to the sphere, just click it. I have renamed it as player. You could rename this one. You have a lot of options. You could delete, duplicate, rename. So what I did was, to create these obstacles, I created one cube with the required properties. Then I started duplicating it. So that's why it has these clumsy names. So click the player. So I was talking about adding rigid body property. So just come to the inspector. You could see add component. Click this one, physics. Then here you could see the rigid body property. So actually it is already added. That's why it's showing this warning. So once it's added, you could see here. You could add the mass, drag, angular drag. You could add the gravity, kinematic properties, blah, blah, blah. Lots of physics. So you could add these. So I have added a mass for my object and all. Then the second one is okay. The next part I will come later. So now our player has properties similar to an real body in a real world. Next is how this game is going to work is this player shouldn't hit these boxes or it's these boundaries it is having. So if it hits, we need to detect. So what is two objects hitting in real world or in physics? It's collision. So in order for two game objects to detect collision in Unity, you have to have something called an collider for both the objects. So we have to add collider to our properties. So we have to add a collider to our player. We have to add collider to each of the objects, and we have to add collider to all the edges. And also we have to add a collider to this one, this water I have there, this water. See this water part. So I have to add collider to this one to detect collision, so that I could show a game over pop-up, or maybe I could disable the controls of our player to do things like that. So for that I have to add collider. So I'm just clicking the player. So collision is also physics. So go to the physics, and you could see there are a lot of colliders: box collider, capsule collider, sphere collider, mesh collider, terrain collider. Lot of colliders are there. Wheel collider. So actually this one is a sphere. So I think sphere collider would be better. So when I click it, it will show warning because I have added it earlier. So you could see here I could edit the collider. So when I click edit, you could see a green color border appearing around this object. Just take you more close to the object. Yeah. So now you could see a green border coming around this one. So with this one, I could adjust the collider. So this green border actually shows the margin or the outline of the collider. So when this green margin and the collider and the green margin of another collider, let it be box collider, terrain collider, anything, when it hits and collision is detected. So simply we could say when two green borders of this of two game objects collide, collision is detected. So you could adjust this one as the way you want. This one is fine for me. So I have added collider to the player. And the next one is I have to add collider to one of our obstacles. So this is the obstacle I got. Or maybe, yeah, this is the obstacle I got. So in this obstacle part, I would be just add component, physics 3D. And then here I could add a box collider because this is in the shape of a box. So box collider would be more preferable. So I have to click box collider. So it's already added. When I add now, it will be showing a warning. And then I could edit the edges. Edit collider, see. Actually, this is a pretty big, right? So I could even scale it according to those properties. But for the time being, I'm leaving it right now because I don't want to take much of your time. So you could have collider to one property. So if you duplicate before adding these properties, you have to add collider to each of these. I'm almost having around 49 objects here. So adding 49 colliders to each one is going to take a lot of time. So I prefer just create an object which you think you need to duplicate a lot of time. Create it, give all the properties to it beforehand, and then start duplicating it. Duplicating is pretty simple. Just click the object, duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. So let me show you an example. So I'm duplicating this one. So duplicate 2 is created. But actually this was the first object and I can't see the duplicate. Actually duplicate was created. This one is hiding behind this one. Just use the move tool and move it. You could see. So these are the common mistakes we make when we are a beginner Unity. We would be doing things, we would be duplicating, we will be doing all things, but we won't be able to see it in the scene. Actually, it would be hiding behind something, or it would be like this space is actually a really big space. This one is an infinitesimally big space. So it would be hiding somewhere here. You have to just zoom out and do a lot of things. That's the hardest part in developing games. You have to have a lot of patience and things. So these are some common mistakes that are possible or you could make. So I have just set the game environment. I have set the cameras, the obstacles. Then let's come to the slope part. So slope. So here you could see the slope is just an cube with its x-axis scaled up. Then it is also having a box collider because it should detect collision if it hits here. So when I just ramp it with this one, it should jump up this water and it should fall correctly here. So that's the whole concept of this game pretty much. So this is the slope. So in the slope, what I have done is I have placed one and I have just tilted it or rotated it in Z axis. So that rotation has created a slope actually. So that's how created a slope. You could rotate it and do things. And for the edges, same. I have just created a cube, scaled it, and I have added box collider property to it because it should detect collision. So this is the property. So you have the box collider here. Then you may have some how to create. As I said in hierarchy, there is a parent-child relationship between them. So I have here an horizontal edge. Actually, I have 3 horizontal edges here. This one is one. The second one is here. The third one is here. So I don't want it separate. I just want it inside an object called horizontal edge or something, and I just want to add it. So it's easy. Just create this object separately. Just drag it and put it inside. See it came. So the water is added to that one. I want it as a separate one. So now I'd separate. So how to create this horizontal edge part? Just game object, create empty. You have to create an empty object. So empty object, let me give this a name as sample or something. So if I want to add an obstacle to it, just drag it, drop it. So now see this obstacle is the child of the sample. And you could see there is no change. Actually, the thing is still there. It has all the properties we needed. So this is just for organizing our objects. And if we are doing a bigger project, this is just a scene. In Temple Run, each frame is actually seen. So there is a lot of scenes involved. So you may need to group components to take it to the next frame. So you could just do like this, just create empty object, put the components which you think you would be reusing again and again, or which should be a group, drag it and put it so that you could organize your objects in a really good way. So this is that part. So I think I have covered almost the basics. Then these are the scripts. So now everything is added, the objects are added. So if I want to run the game, I have to click this one, run. So it automatically moves to the game part. So here I have assumed that I have not added the scripts yet. So it would be just whatever I click in my keyboard or mouse, whatever I do, this would be stuck here because I have not added any dynamic movement. So for dynamic movement, we need to do some code. So C# is the primary language of Unity, and we do it with the help of C#. So this is one script, which is for the player movement. So you could see Unity as a feature. We don't require an IDE and all to open this one. We could just click it and you could see. Or editing, obviously you need an IDE, but or viewing, that's not a mandatory one. So I don't want to explain code. Actually, if you go and search in Google code in Unity or code in C# for moving an object or 3D object, moving a 3D sphere, you would get all these lines precise. So I don't want to explain a lot of code. I would just walk through what's happening here. So using Unity engine, it's like hash include in C, just telling this one, get the components from this Unity. It's just an important statement. I want all the classes, blah, 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 defined inside Unity. So I'm just importing it. I'm creating a class for player movement. So this rigid body, these things are properties which is in this Unity engine file. So that's why I import it. So I'm defining a rigid body. So I'm giving a constant value for forward force and sideways force. Then there are two main functions in Unity script. First one is update and second one is start. So actually update is something which runs again and again as the frame changes. And the start is one which runs at the first time of starting the script. So if I'm running player movement, the start function is the one which will be triggered at first. And then the update function will be triggered again and again and again. So that's how these things pretty much work. So I have just done a lot of coding. It's just simple. Here you could see if the input key is W, you should add force in the forward direction. Then it's S, you should add force in the backward direction. If it's D, add force in the left. if it's D, add force in the right. If the input key is A, add force to the left. And I have also added a key called Q to give a boost. The boost is I have added it since there is something what to say, we have to cross this river kind of thing. There is a slope, so my object should have enough acceleration to accelerate through and cross this one. So that's why I have added a Q. So here you could see I am just adding force, but here when I click Q, I'm just multiplying the force with a factor of 20, so that I get some kind of an acceleration or an impulsive force there. So this is the script. So how to add it to our object? That's the next question. So I have to add the script to the player, right? This is the movement for the player. So just click the player, just click add component, and you could just search by the script name. Player movement is the script's name. So player movement, you have it, just click it, it would be getting added. Then let me show you something interesting. Yeah, here in the script, you could see here also you can control the forward force and backward force, or the sideward force. Actually, forward force is uses negative value in the backward. So forward and the sideward force, you could correct it from here itself. Actually, it's also what to say, added in our code. We could see it in our IDE because we have defined this as public. These are called access specifiers. If you are good in programming, you would understand it, or you could just search in Google, you would get. So these are some basic player movement codes. So now I have added this script to my player via this inspector tab by clicking on component. So let's see whether our game works. So I'm going to play and check it. So I'm clicking W. Yes, it's moving front. Then I'm clicking A, it's moving side. Then D, it's moving left. So when I click front, it's moving. So when I clicking Q, see, there is an impulsive force. So the thing is working well. But you may have a doubt how the camera is moving according to the player. Actually, I have added a camera script here, follow player, a script like that. If you haven't added that script, the camera would be still staying here. The camera is actually here. So it would be still here only, and you would be seeing the whole game from here. So I have added a script to it. So it's also similar script. I'm just getting the transforms, or the transforms I showed in the inspector tab of an game object. It gives the position, scaling and things of an player. So I just got it, and an offset value for the camera to stand a little up, or it should be above the player. So that's the offset vector here. Then in the update function, I'm just calling it. Just add these properties to this and set it to the camera. So this is some code. You will also get this obviously when you search in Google. And next is the collision. So the collision is the next part. Collision is also the important part, because without collision, I could just hit this one and go, and anybody could win the game. There should be a challenge, right? So this is the collisions code, and this part is a little tricky, actually. So actually, I just want a different types of collision here. Actually, when let me show you. Actually, in this slope, I have added a box collide. So when our objects come to the slope, I don't want it to collide. I don't want, actually it will detect collision, but I don't want to take control from the user. I just want to give more acceleration to it so that it can jump. So for that collision, the code would be different. For other types of collision, for the water, for the edges, for this objects, it should be another type of collision. So that can be managed using labels and all. So I can give an label like here obstacle. So let's select an obstacle. So here you can see I have added a tag called obstacle. So in my code I have written if collision info.collider.tag, if the tag is obstacle, and disable the movement. Actually movement.enabled is equal to false. It means disable the movement. So if it's water, also disable the movement. So here I have specifically mentioned if it's this tag only, disable the movement. So for the slope, it won't actually disable the movement. I could just give more acceleration code just by typing here. So this is how our collision is detected in our code. And we have added this collision code to our player, and we have selected the player. So this is the collision part code, and you will also get this in Google if you search. So let me show you a collision instance. So just I'm moving and just hitting this one. Yes, that's it. Now I am clicking all the control keys. It's actually not moving. Actually, this movement is due to the physics there, the force which is created due to collision. I'm clicking all the possible keys. It's not working. So actually the collision took over the movement control of those objects. So this is pretty much I wanted to show you guys about the game objects, inspector tab, hierarchy, project, console, the game and the scene part, then about the materials, scripts. So I have almost covered on the tools part. So I have almost covered the basics of Unity. So if you are more interested, you could contact me. I have given my contact in my first page in the website part. So you could contact me anytime in the website, or you could contact me via our interns team or via my company's Instagram handle. And pretty much that's it. So I would like to stop my Unity session here. So thank you for hearing me out for the past 45 to 50 minutes. And now I would move it over to Alina.
Thank you, Gokul. So here we have a set of questions. So the first one is, what are the system requirements for installing Unity?
Okay, so actually you need a pretty good system specs for running Unity. It's actually a really heavy software. So what I would prefer is something, an i5 processor, let it be any generation. An i5 processor is more than enough. It would serve the purpose. Then RAM, 4 GB RAM, it's okay for running it, but you can't parallelly run Chrome or any other apps in your lab. It would get your lab will burn out. So 8 GB RAM is preferred. Then graphics, it depends on your usage. If you are building a high-end graphics game, you require a graphics card. It's inevitable. You need a graphics card. But if you are building a simple game, like I showed you right now, you don't require a high-end graphics card in your laptop. So that's pretty much the specs you should have to run Unity. I think that would be enough.
Okay, Google. So next we have, how can we rig a character model in Unity? Do we need to model the character in another application like Blender or Unity itself?
Yeah. So about a character model, as I said, there is a lot of predefined models in Unity. Actually, you have an asset store in this Unity game engine. So you could go there and you could search. There are a lot of free assets there. I mean 3D models. So you could just download it and you could import it as an asset. That's the first way. Now, if you want to create your own, you have to do it in 3D modeling softwares like Blender, and you could just export it and let it be any software. It doesn't matter. You can just import directly into Unity. Unity has a good, it's really versatile and portable. So it would support any 3D model formats. So you could do it in Blender, or even Microsoft 10 has its own 3D some software. You could also do it in that one. So any software is fine if you want to create your own model, but it should be 3D modeling. Yeah, it can be even CAD too. Even CAD objects, I think Unity supports.
Okay, so I think that is okay. The next one is Unity better than Godot?
Actually, I haven't used Godot, to be honest, first one. So I don't know how it works or how it is, or the performance of the engine. What I could say is, for beginners, I would prefer Unity. I haven't used Godot, so I would prefer Unity. And most of the developer community would also agree with that too, because it's, as I said, it's really user friendly. I cover a lot of portions in this 45 minutes. So it's that much beginner friendly first. Second one is we have some, I think Godot is also open source, if I'm right. So that part is not an issue here. But as I said, Unity has some support for a lot of platforms, and there are a lot of games coming nowadays. But Unity has been in the market for a long time, so you would also have a good community support maybe. And the export options are really fast and really good in Unity. And I said it's really portable. So about that Godot question, I haven't used Godot, so I can't comment much on it. I can just see the advantages or things you would get in Unity.
Okay. So next one is, what is fixed time step in Unity?
Okay, fixed time step. I think fixed time step is this frames. Actually, each frame has an independent time limit. So that's what fixed time step is, if I'm right. For example, in Temple Run, actually, if I'm running in a straight one or a straight path, actually, I just need a single frame and I have to update in a fixed time. So that's where this fixed time step comes. Actually, it's a what to say, and quantity or a function or a class to specify that frame rate or the time in which the frame should update or when the frame should change. So it's actually a timestamp kind of thing.
Okay. So next is, what is prefabs in Unity?
Prefabs. I have prefabs. Maybe if I am right, I have just heard about it, not a clear idea about it. If I'm right, prefabs is the already fabric. Unity have some templates and things for games. So things like that may be that prefabs. Actually, it's prefabricated kind of thing. So I think I'm not pretty sure about this. Maybe that may be the answer. You could just try it out, or maybe I would just work on it, and maybe you could contact me later, and I would just pay you.
Yeah, the contact details are given in the poster. So anyone who wants to contact can contact him. So the last question that we have is, since Unreal Engine is now free and most of AAA games are made on it, why Unity?
Okay, this point actually Unreal Engine is lot more powerful than Unity. I agree with that, because for creating a game like PUBG, it's going to take a lot of time in Unity. But I don't think Unreal Engine is totally free. There are a lot of constraints than Unity in Unreal Engine actually. Unity doesn't give you any feature constraints and things like that. It gives more of a freedom. It gives all full and full access to its features, unless and until you are less than 100 that $1 lakh limit. So, but if I'm right, Unreal Engine have some constraints. Then Unreal Engine is a really advanced engine. It's not at all beginner friendly. If you don't pretty much have no idea about game development, Unreal Engine is going to give you a really tough time. You won't be understanding anything at the beginner's point of view. So Unity is not like that. It's actually really friendly, user friendly. So that's the point where I would focus. Unreal Engine is really powerful. I agree with that fact. But in a beginner friendly perspective, Unreal Engine is going to give you a really tough time to learn and understand all the concepts and how to work over it. But in Unity, you don't require that much time. It's pretty simple. And about that feature restrictions and limit part. So that's pretty much on that.
Okay, thank you, Google. So now we are come to the end of the question and answer session. Going to the conclusion, gaining knowledge is the first step to wisdom. Sharing it is the first step towards humanity. With this, we conclude today's first session of Color Your Space. Thank you, Google, for an amazing talk on Unity game development. Hope this session was enlightening. I'd also like to extend my gratitude towards the organizers as well as the audience for being a part of this session. Until next time, good night.